Welcome back everyone to another episode of Game of Thrones Winter's Coming. Today we're taking a look at Sheila, who is the next commander in our commander overview in-depth list, if you can say it like that. Sheila is of course a bowman commander with focus on grain production, bowman attack and fortification attack. I won't mention much about fortification attack because fortifications basically doesn't exist in the game. Of course it's there, but majority of the time it just gets overrun and hardly does anything, so it's not really something that's focused on rather a lot in the game. So we will, as usual, go in and take a look in her skills and the passive stuff and how to use her, and then we're going to take a look at the tavern stuff before ending the video. So let's get right to it. So let's take a look at what Sheila actually really can do. We're obviously going to take focus on training grounds, rebuild leaders and PvP fights as usual. And we have a short overview of the general guard skills she has. You can see that she has basically a active skill with high damage. She has some attack increase that's time dependent, and then she also has some increased damage and stun against targets every 7 attack, and she passively also gets an additional attack buff. In terms of awakening skill, there is some consumption upkeep rate reduction and bowman attack, and her overall base stats, as you can see, is very focused around the attack stats. Has a little bit of defense, a little bit of health, but as her description says, it's basically single target attack focused. So regarding training grounds, you will probably want to use Sheila either in the middle, back or bottom, basically always in the back row, mainly because she can't really tank very well and she's focused on ranged attack anyways. Her strong points are basically that she's a good offensive commander, has a 2-second stun every 7th attack, which is really useful. Something that doesn't really get noticed easily because nobody counts it on attacks that comes. She's strong against all types, and she has also very high single target damage, which is very useful in terms of trying to either get rid of a DPS target the enemy has, or if you want to break down the walls they have, because having this high damage profile basically means that she can get through tanks fairly fast. Now we are going to take a look at rebuild leaders. Rebuild leaders, you would want to use her either in the back, or you can actually use her in the front position at the top or bottom. As long as she doesn't have to tank the rebuild leader, then it should be fine. The benefit by having her stay in those two positions would be that she can attack faster, but then it will also come at the cost of, if you have some kind of melee units at the back, that they will take longer to attack. So preferably use her in the back if you can. But in rare occasions you can put her in the front if you already have like several ranged DPS targets on your side. So her strong points are basically that she has very high single target damage per second, and you saw it like with the different stuff that she has to add the skills. She has passive attack increase, which is quite significant, which puts her above over 12,000 base attack. She has a very high skill damage active skill, which we also saw that it was basically mainly used for basically cutting down one single target, which rebuild leaders are. And also the increased attack every 15 seconds for 6 seconds should also not be slept on. Basically means that she has at times over 15,000 base attack, which is super high when she is at least 3-star awakened. And she probably has even higher if you drop some of the final items on her as well. Now for PvP fights, that's fairly simple. Her strong points are basically that she's a bow commander with focus on economy skills and bow attack, which means that if you need some bow attack, she's decent, but most people will probably just use her for various other reasons, one of them being that her awakening skill that increases bow attack as well as decreases consumption rate. The problem with consumption rate is that it drains your grain that you have on the account, which is basically necessary, and for some people it's really annoying having to open packs every time you have to use a grain, and for others they can live with it. But if you have awakening skill completed and you drop a 50% consumption buff on top of that, you basically won't lose any grain, and will actually produce grain in your farm or in your account, so that's very important to note. And then there's also awakening buffs in general for bow attack, as well as grain gathering speed, and the grain gathering speed is only effective if you actually send the commander along. So overall, for PvP situations, she is not super useful unless you're running a bow comp, but even then there are probably other commanders that are better to pick. And you can also take a look at, like, she's mainly used for economic reasons and for the consumption rate and so on. So that's kind of how she works. But before finishing up the video, we're taking a look at the Tavern Stats right now. So before we are finishing off the video, we're taking a look at the Tavern Stats for Sheila. And she originally has 2-star finance and then 4-star in combat rate. When she's awakened, she of course gets 1 added star to both finance and combat rate. And pretty much she is very useful in terms of PvP usage in the combat rate, since combat rate is such a huge deal nowadays. And the finance in general is also nice to have because you will always have a need for gold. So that's kind of like the gist of her, and combat rate is of course always useful and super important. But I hope you liked the video. Comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to. If you want to play the game, the link is down in the description below. So is it for the Discord group for Game of Thrones Winter's Coming, and so is it as well for the music they have in the video. And then I just wish you all a lovely weekend. Hope you all have a great time. Good luck with the AC and other events that are coming up. And I'm gonna catch you all next time. Bye bye!